Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about making the revised, improved Battle Zero on your AR with the carry handle iron sights work for you. I only recently found out about this thanks to one of the viewers in my channel that put me onto this. And I'm going to talk, towards the end of the video, I'm going to talk into detail about how I had to adjust this in order to be able to use the revised, improved Battle Zero. But first I'm going to talk about how I made it work for me, because I think it makes sense. If you guys understand the benefit of being able to use it, then you might want to go through the trouble actually doing it. Okay, so here's the thing. If you have the carry handle iron sights, okay, you're going to have this range drum over here, right? All right. And if you look on the range drum over here, you'll see the 6.3. So basically, when you're in this setting over here, actually right there, you zero in for 25 yards, which gives you a second zero at 300 yards, right? All right. And then when you roll this around, as you roll this piece rises over here, and then you roll it, and then you get to the 4 position right there, right? That's the 4 position. So now you're at 400 yards. You keep rolling this around. You get to the 5 position over here. This comes up even higher. So now you can shoot 500 yards. You roll this back around. So now you're back now you come back around. So now the 6 comes into play over here. So now you're now at 600 yards. Okay. In its factory setting, when you come back to the 300 yard position, you can't go any lower, right? That's the last setting. So there's a way to set this thing up so that you can actually click back, right? So you can see how I'm clicking back. I can go 8 clicks back to the point where the 5 starts to appear here, okay? And the great thing about that is it allows me to use a 50 yard zero, okay? So let's talk about that for a second, so we can understand what we're doing here and why we're doing it. And then I'll tell you guys about how I made it work for me. So in order for the numbers on the drum to mean anything, you gotta basically zero in at 25 yards, okay? So you get your 25 yard zero, which gives you that second zero at 300 yards. The problem with the 25 yard zero is that if you're shooting at 100 yards, which is a very common shooting distance, you're gonna be about 10 to 12 inches high, depending on the length of your barrels and the weight of your bullet. The problem with that is, like, if you're aiming here, your bullets are coming over here, and a lot of times this is how big your target is, so your bullets are going over your target. The benefit of the 50 yard zero is you get your first zero at 50 yards, second zero at 200 yards. So at 100 yards, you're only 3 to 4 inches high. So if you aim here, you're basically hitting here. So that works out really great. So the nice thing about this revised improved zero, it allows me to rotate back so that I can go back to a 50 yard zero and use that for most of my shooting. And then if I'm going to be shooting at 300 yards, then I can just rotate up to the 300 yard zero position. So this is absolutely awesome for iron sights. I mean, I'm just amazed that they had figured this thing out, like, way back when they did, before modern day bullet drop compensators. I mean, it's just a really amazing tool built into the rifle. So but here's the thing, you got to make it work for you, because depending on your barrel length and on your the weight of your bullet, depending on the temperature, air pressure, elevation, I'm at my elevation here at this location is 2,000 feet up. I'm on top of a mountain, basically a small mountain, but still I'm at 2,000 feet up. So that's going to be different for somebody that's at sea level, or even just 1,000 feet down. So the way I made this work for me is, the first thing I needed to do is I needed to figure out my 25 yard zero and get that perfect, and then everything else would kind of work around that. Okay, so what I did is I set this to the 3-6 position. I put out one of these targets at 25 yards, okay, and I shot it, and I got what, I basically used manipulating the elevation adjustment on the front sight I got to what appeared to be a bullseye at 25 yards. Now the problem with that is that at 25 yards, I mean, if you're a quarter inch up, quarter inch down, it's kind of hard to judge this, you know, because if you're a quarter inch up or a quarter inch down, not a big deal at 25 yards, but at 300 yards, that's a big difference. Okay, so what I wanted to do is from there, I went out to 100 yards because I know with the 25 yard zero, with a 25 300 zero, at 100 yards, I'm going to be 10 to 12 inches high. And now that's a distance where I can like really fine tune this, all right? So basically what I did is I'm putting my front sight at the bottom of this paper, right here, and I want my bullets impacting all the way up here. And basically I don't remember which way I had to adjust it, whether I had to adjust it up or adjust it down, but I got it so it was impacting right over here at 10 inches high. So now I know that I have a true 25 300 yard zero. Okay, and you know the problem is, like, if you try to go, because ideally you would want to shoot this at 300 yards and see that at 300 yards you're centering, but the problem is with iron sights, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my eyes aren't that good. I can't see a target this small at 300 yards. Okay, so I have to figure out a way to cheat this a little bit. So at 25 yards, it's too close, where quarter inch up, quarter inch down makes a big difference. But at 100 yards, that's kind of like the perfect distance where I can still see this target over here. And I know, and given that I know where this is supposed to be impacting at 100 yards, which is right up here, I can get this almost perfect. Okay, so that's what I did. I adjusted this. I got this at impacting at the top of the paper, 10 inches high or 11 inches high at 100 yards. And then what I did is I moved this to the 50 yards, right? To the 50 yards. And I said, okay, everybody, because here's the thing. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. There's, if you do some Googling and some searching, you're gonna find people giving you different numbers or different settings to get back to that 50-yard zero. Most people say go 4 clicks back. Other people say go 6 clicks back. Other people say go 2 clicks back. I mean, and none of them are wrong. It's just an issue of how long the barrel length is, what type of bullet they're shooting, what their elevation is. So none of them are wrong. So you have to kind of figure out for yourself what's going to work. So since the most common was 4 people saying 4 clicks back, okay, what I did is I rotated this back 4 clicks, right? Right, so I'm going in because normally this would be your bottom position, but after the adjustment that I made, I'm able to go back 4 clicks. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I shot this at 50 yards, and I was using XM 193. Okay, so what I found with this 16-inch barrel, okay, I found that I was too high. I was still coming in too high. So then I went 6 clicks back. I was still a little bit too high. I went 8 clicks back, and that's pretty much where I was hitting close to the bullseye. So for my particular rifle, with this particular setup that I have, with the particular ammunition that I'm shooting, I had to go 8 clicks back to get to a 50-yard zero. Now, the way I tested that, right, is I took this back out to 100 yards, and I know with a 50-yard zero, I should be 3 to 4 inches high. If I'm aiming underneath the bullseye here, or better yet, at the bottom of the paper, because it's easier to see, without magnification, it's easier to see the entire white paper. So at 100 yards, what I did is I put my front sight post at the bottom of the paper, and I was impacting about 3 to 4 inches high, and then that's how I knew that was the correct position for this rifle with the ammunition that I was using. So the 100 yards is where we're gonna really fine tune this and figure out how, what settings we need to use. Okay. So here's the thing though. Like I said, it's kind of like a bullet drop compensator. You gotta kind of make it work for you, because what happens is I might take this out to 300 yards or 400 yards, and I might find that it's not working out so good for me. Maybe my bullets are impacting a little bit high. Well, here's one of the great things about this. If you go back to the 6-3 position, okay, let's go over here. If you go back to the 6-3, let me get you guys in focus. Focus. There it is, the 6-3 position, right? You'll notice that if you go one click over, there's a Z setting over here, right? You see that little Z right there? There's a little Z setting there. Well, what's that Z setting, okay? And I did some research on that, and people were saying, well, that's if you're using a 20-inch barrel, right? Which now your bullet's going to be going a little bit faster. You want to use that Z setting, because now if you zero on the Z setting, then the adjustment from your Z setting to the 4 position is going to be less, right? You're going less clicks up. You're only going 3 clicks up. So here's the thing. Because here's the thing. Again, it comes down to different. You might be using different ammunition. You use the Z setting any way you need to use it. So with the current settings that I have right now on this rifle, right? When I go to shoot it at 300 and 400 yards, when I rotate up, let's say to the 4 position or the 5 position on the drum, okay, if I see that my bullets are going like over my target, right, or I got to hold really low, then that means that the range adjustment is too much over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and instead of zeroing my 25 yards on the 3-6 position, I'm going to switch over to the Z position, okay, and I'm going to zero on that, okay, and then everything's going to, and we're going to go through the whole process all over again, okay, but in this case, I'm using the Z instead of the 3 position. So, you got to make this work for you. So it's kind of like, just like a bullet drop compensator, where, when they set it up at the factory, they set it up on a specific rifle with a specific ammunition at a specific temperature, at a specific elevation, at specific humidity. And that's, obviously not going to apply to like 99% of people out there who are at something other than that, okay? So the great thing about this is they give you the tools to make it work for you. You just got to understand that you got to be flexible like that and make it work for you. So right now I have it zeroed in at that 3-6 position for 25 yards, right? Which gives me my second zero at 300, or should give me my second zero at 300 yards. And then 8 clicks back for me brings me to a 50-yard zero, which means that if I'm shooting at 100 yards, I'm going to be, if I put my front sight here, I'm going to be 3 to 4 inches high, which is generally where I'm going to keep this, right? That's how I'm mostly going to be shooting this rifle. Now, the viewer that put me onto this whole thing with the revised, improved Combat Zero also said that for some people, at some places with certain types of ammunition, what may work out really good for them is if your rifle is tuned so that it's only 4 clicks back for you to get to a 50-yard zero, then 2 clicks back might get you to a perfect zero at 100 yards. Okay, so that's one of the things that you could use that. So you got, you guys, basically it's settings. You got a whole bunch of settings here. The numbers here give you a starting point to work from, but from there you got to make this thing work for you. So, like I said, this is really amazing. I've had this thing, like this carry handle here came on my Colt, which I had it on there for a couple of years. Basically I was just, doing target shooting. Never really figured out how to use this at the time. This is going back like 8 years. I never really figured out how to really utilize this, because very quickly, I ended up taking the carry handle off, and the red dot went on the gun, and I, basically started moving forward with that. I started getting all my training with a red dot. So to me, the iron sights are purely a backup, right? So you have to, typically you have your red dot, and then you got your flip up iron sights. But at that point, like the iron sights are like for an oh shit type of situation where your red dot fails. Okay, most people don't really train to use their iron sights as the primary sighting system anymore. or to use them offensively. Usually if your red dot fails, now you're like in pure defense mode. You're trying to get out of there. You're not trying to move forward. So that's one of the great things about, at this point, like I'm going back. I put the carry handle on this AR over here, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, great. How can I make, I got all these things that I do with the red dots and with the, with the scope, with the variable scopes that have the bullet drop compensators. How can I do all that stuff with this? And yeah, you can. I mean, the system was designed so that you can do all that cool stuff with it. So it's a great learning experience that I'm going through now, kind of retro, going back and trying to figure out things that I'm doing now with red dots, how it was done before when all they had was iron sights. Okay, so now really quick, let me tell you guys about the adjustment that I had to make in order to be able to go back those 8 clicks. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to find an Allen key that is 1/16, and that was actually the hardest part of all this, because I couldn't find a complete Allen key set because I have all these loose Allen keys, trying to find one that fit. I couldn't. That was the hardest part of all this. But once you find a 1/16 Allen key, you're gonna flip back your flip side over here, right, so that you can access a little hole over here, and you're gonna put the Allen key in there. You're gonna rotate it back enough to loosen the Allen screw. You don't want to completely remove the Allen screw. Just rotate it back to loosen it, and you can actually leave the Allen key in that position right there. And what that does is the drum here, the range drum, is actually 2 parts. There's a top part and the lower part. So once you loosen it, you're going to hold on to the top part with the numbers, and then you're going to spin back the bottom part 8 clicks, or 4 clicks, or 8 clicks. Most people are going to tell you to do 4 clicks. I ended up having to go 8 clicks because I needed that extra elevation for my particular situation here. So I went back 8 clicks. And once you go back to 8 clicks, then you just tighten up your Allen screw here, and then that locks the 2 pieces together, and then you're good to go. You're good to figure out how to make this work for you. So again, because here's the thing: if you start off at 50 yards, right? If you're like, okay, most people seem to say that you gotta go back 4 clicks, right? So if you're like, okay, let me go back 4 clicks, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's get a 50-yard zero. Great, we got a 50-yard zero. Then you go back to the 300-yard position here. You go shoot this, and it's like all of a sudden, like the bullets aren't going where they're supposed to go. Because remember, this thing was originally designed to work with a 25 300-yard zero. So that's the starting point. That's where we start from. And then after we figure that out, then we have to go back and say, okay, where is the 50-yard zero on this? How many clicks back do I have to go? Do I have to go back 4 clicks, like most people say, or do I have to go back 6 clicks, or do I have to go back 8 clicks? Like I had to go back 8 clicks to make this work for me. Okay, so and the way to do that is you're going to be working, use your 25-yard zero to get you basically on the paper. Then take this out to 100 yards. Put the front sight at the bottom of the paper. Your bullet should be impacting at the top, right, 10 inches high. Okay, that's great. Your 300-yard zero is set, right? Then bring this back to 50 yards. Okay, at 50 yards, start by going 4 clicks back, right? Go 4 clicks back. Take some shots. See where your bullets are impacting at 50 yards. If they're going too high, or adjust. Basically, if they're going too high, then you're going to have to go back 6 clicks. Or if they're going too low, then go forward. Then in your case, you might have to only come back 2 clicks or go back 3 clicks. So you got to figure out where your 50-yard zero is going to be. And then once you figure that out, whether it's back 4 clicks, back 6 clicks, or back 8 clicks, then take this out to the 100 yards. Okay, put your front sight at the bottom of the paper, because at 100 yards with a 50-yard zero, you're going to be 3 to 4 inches high, so your bullet should be impacting right there. And then that's great. Then you have all your data to work with this for your particular AR with the ammunition that you're using. If you're using different ammunition, some of that might change. And then as you go out to further distances, if you see that the numbers aren't lining up exactly, you also got the Z setting over here Okay, so you may have to go back and re-zero, you know, and re-zero your 25-yard zero, maybe on that Z position, in order for this to work for you. Okay, and I think the only reason why you would have to do this is that if you see that at 300 yards or 400 yards, your bullets are going over the target, then that means that the range adjustment is too high. So you got to basically close that gap a little bit. So then you get a zero on the Z position. So a lot of information over there. Much thanks and gratitude to the viewer, and I hope he sounds off in the comment section below. To the viewer that put me onto this, that basically made me aware of the revised, improved Battle Zero, because this really opened up a whole new world as far as being able to use these iron sights. You know, so. And it's a fun thing to do. You know, it's like that's one of the great things about having lots of ARs. You know, you can set some up with red dots, set some up with variable scopes. You know, set some up with traditional iron sights like this, and you know, you got lots of toys to play with. Okay, so thanks for watching. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. Make sure you follow me on all my channels because they back each other up. On YouTube, I got Absolute Gun Rights. I got Pocono Shooting, and I got the original Safa channel, which goes back to 2006. And also on the uncensored platforms. On Odyssey, I am Pocono Tactical. On Rumble, I'm Pocono Guns. And on BitChute, I'm Pocono Tactical. Thanks for watching. And listen, information goes both ways on this channel, right? There's nothing that I say on this channel that I have invented. Okay, everything that I tell people came from somewhere else. So I'm kind of like this channel is like an information hub. You know, information comes in, and basically it gets collected here, and then I send it out to you guys, and likewise you guys send information to me, which then I work with, I study, and then I redistribute to everybody else. So I really appreciate the comments you guys give me with additional information. We'll talk again soon.